My boyfriend and I have been in a relationship for 8 years now. We first started dating when we were in college, and since then, we've stayed together. Over the years, we've been through so much as a couple. We've faced some of the hardest moments in life, like when I lost my mother, when he lost his grandmother, and even when we experienced the heartbreak of a miscarriage. We've also dealt with difficult times financially, especially during periods of unemployment. Most of the time, it's been him losing jobs, usually because of his short temper, and I've had to step in and support us both. I've helped him out many times with money, paid his bills, and even bought him things he wanted or needed. I've also made sure to cook for him and take care of him in every way I can. I've done all of this not because I had to, but because I truly love him and care about him deeply. So you can imagine how shocked and heartbroken I was when I recently found out that my boyfriend is planning to marry another woman, someone his parents have chosen for him. It completely caught me off guard. To give some background, we come from different religions. I won't go into specifics, but he's from a culture where parents have a strong say in who their children marry. In many cases, they decide if someone is suitable based on religion, family background, and other traditional values. But when we first met, things felt different. He told me he loved me and that he only wanted to be with me. He promised me that he would talk to his parents and make them understand our relationship. He said he would stand up for us, that he'd convince them to accept me no matter what. I believed him because I trusted him, and because everything we had built together over the years felt so real and strong. However, over the years it became more and more clear that his parents didn't accept me. They've shown time and time again that they don't like me and don't want their son to be with someone like me. It's not just something I sensed, it's something they made obvious through their actions and words. There have been many family gatherings and important events where I was either completely left out or only invited at the last minute, almost as if I didn't matter. And when I did attend, I wasn't treated kindly. I felt like an outsider, like I didn't belong, no matter how polite or respectful I was. What hurt even more was that my boyfriend never really stood up for me in those moments. He never defended me when they were rude, and he never pushed back against how they treated me. It felt like he was willing to keep the peace with them, even if it meant letting me feel disrespected or unwanted. His mother has never once publicly acknowledged that I'm his girlfriend, even after all these years. It's like I've been invisible in his life when it comes to her. I've overheard her speaking to her friends and relatives, and she refers to me as nothing more than his temporary partner, as if I'm just a phase he's going through, not someone he's been with for 8 years. She says things like, he'll eventually come to the right path. And while I'm not entirely sure what she means by that, I can only assume she believes that being with me is somehow wrong or shameful. It's painful to hear those things, especially knowing how much I've given to this relationship and how deeply I've cared for him. To be seen as something temporary after all this time, just because I come from a different background, makes me feel like I was never really accepted or even respected as a person. It's as if she thinks my love, my support, and my presence in his life don't count for anything simply because I'm not who she wanted for her son. Anyway, throughout the years, I've dropped many hints to my boyfriend about wanting him to propose. I never pressured him directly, but I made it clear in my own way that I hoped we'd take that next step. Each time, he would brush it off and say something like, things are going great between us. We don't need to get married to prove our love. In the beginning, I accepted that, and I told myself that what mattered most was the love we shared and the life we were building together, not a ring or a ceremony. But as time went on, my feelings started to change. I've watched so many of my friends get engaged and married and start new chapters in their lives. I've gone to their weddings and celebrated with them and seen them build families and homes. I started to realize that I want that too. I want to settle down, feel secure in my relationship, to be someone's wife, not just a long term girlfriend who's waiting endlessly for something more. Despite this, my boyfriend has always held back. No matter how much time passes or how strong our relationship seems, he never moves forward. And the longer this went on, the more I started to wonder if he ever truly intended to. I'll admit, all of this has started to make me feel insecure. Lately, I've noticed some changes in my boyfriend's behavior that I can't ignore. For about a month now, he's been glued to his phone, constantly scrolling or texting. But when I try to call or message him, he often doesn't respond right away, or sometimes not at all. It's confusing and frustrating because if he's always on his phone, why can't he take a second to reply to me? What's even more strange is he hasn't had a job for the past few months, so most of his time should be spent at home. And yet he's been spending more and more time away from the house without any clear explanation. When he is home, he mostly plays video games or keeps to himself. I've asked him what he's been up to, but his answers are vague and avoidant. Something just feels off. He's been coming home late at night more often now, and every time I ask him where he's been, he just says he was out with his friends. That's it. No details, no stories. Just a short, vague answer. And that's how I know something isn't right. Normally, when he hangs out with his friends, he talks about it nonstop. What they did, where they went, even silly things that happened. But now, it's like he's deliberately keeping things to himself. What's even more unsettling is that on more than one occasion, he's come back home smelling different. There's been a strong scent of women's perfume on his clothes, especially on his shirts. I've leaned in and smelled them closely just to be sure, and it's not a faint smell from being in a crowded place. It's obvious. It clings to the fabric, and no matter how much I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, it's hard to ignore the feeling in my gut telling me that something's going on. All of this, the late nights, the secrecy, the smell of perfume, it's starting to feel like I'm living with a stranger. And it hurts because this is someone I've loved and stood by for years, and now I'm left questioning everything. All of this behavior, his distance, the secrecy, the late nights had been building up inside me. And I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I tried to ignore it, to trust him, but the doubt kept growing. One night, he came home drunk and passed out on our bed. That's when I made a decision I never thought I'd have to make. I picked up his phone while he was asleep, and to my surprise, I couldn't unlock it at first. He had changed his passcode without telling me. That only made my suspicions feel more real. It took me a while, but eventually I figured out the code, and that's when everything started to fall apart. As I went through his messages, my heart sank. I found a conversation with another woman, clear messages that weren't just casual or friendly. The way he spoke to her confirmed the fear I'd been pushing down for weeks. It wasn't just in my head. Something was really happening behind my back. As I kept reading through the messages, the truth began to hit me like a wave I couldn't escape. It turns out they've been talking for the past 3 months. From their conversations, I learned that their parents have already met. And not only do they know about the relationship, but they actually approve of it. My heart sank as I read those words. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I could barely breathe. The messages even hinted that their wedding was already in the works. At that moment, I felt a mix of shock, anger, and deep sadness. I was on the verge of tears. This man, my boyfriend, the one I've loved, supported, and stood by for 8 long years, had not only been lying to me, but cheating on me too. It wasn't just emotional betrayal, it was deception on every level. While I've been hoping and waiting for him to commit to me, he's been planning a life with someone else. What made it worse, and what broke me even more, was realizing how much I've poured into this relationship. He's been living in the home I pay for, eating the meals I cook, playing games bought with my money, all while pretending like everything was normal, like I meant nothing. He's been using me, benefiting from my care and love, while secretly building a future with someone else behind my back. My heart hurt, realizing how I clearly didn't matter to him. In that moment, it became painfully clear to me. I didn't matter to him, not in the way I thought I did. All these years, all the love, support, and care I gave him, none of it meant anything to him. He was planning to leave me behind like I was disposable, like I was just a placeholder until something better came along. And worse, he had been preparing for this for months right under my nose, while pretending everything between us was fine. I didn't let my emotions get the best of me right away. I took screenshots of all the messages and photos between him and the other woman. I sent them to my own phone to keep as proof, not just for myself, but in case I ever need them. Then I carefully put his phone back exactly as I found it, not letting on that I knew a thing. Since that night, I've been trying to act normal, trying to keep my emotions in check, but inside, everything has changed. I look at him now and feel nothing but resentment. Every time I see him lounging around in the home I pay for, eating the food I cook, and pretending like he's done nothing wrong, something inside me boils. I want him to feel even a fraction of the pain he's caused me. I want him to understand what it's like to be used, lied to, and betrayed. He's a disgusting coward, a selfish, pathetic loser who took everything I gave and never once thought about what I deserved in return. AITA for wanting to leave this man without even an explanation, just so I can hurt him back. Update 1. I didn't expect so many people to care about my post. And reading through your responses has truly made me feel less alone. It's been a really difficult time, but knowing that others understand what I'm going through has helped more than I can say. Lots of people have asked me the same question. Have I spoken to the other woman? The answer is no, not yet. At this point, I'm more focused on dealing with him. I don't know what she knows or if she's been lied to as well. But right now, my priority is protecting myself and getting out of this mess in the smartest way possible. Currently, I'm not doing okay. I feel anger, sadness, betrayal, and disbelief all at once. But I also feel a deep strength building inside me. I spent 8 years giving my all to someone who didn't value it. I won't let him take one more piece of me. Thank you again to everyone who took the time to care. I'll post another update soon once I've decided what comes next. Update 2. After everything I discovered and after sitting with the pain, I made a decision. I was done being used. I took your advice seriously and started putting a plan in place to leave my ex once and for all. First thing I did was take back control of my finances. I removed all of my bank cards from his reach and immediately changed all of my passwords and pins so he couldn't access any of my accounts or spend my money anymore. I also went through and cancelled every subscription and service that was tied to my name but used by him. No more free entertainment or benefits on my dime. Then I pulled back completely from the things I used to do out of love. I stopped cooking for him. I stopped doing his laundry, and I stopped running around trying to take care of his life while mine was falling apart. That's when he started noticing the changes. He began asking me questions. Why I wasn't cooking, why I had cancelled his subscription, what was going on. But I didn't respond. I didn't offer explanations. I didn't even look at him the same way. The truth is, I no longer care what he thinks or how confused he acts. His confusion didn't matter to me because I finally saw things clearly and I knew the truth. I chose not to confront him directly because I knew it would be pointless. He's an expert at twisting things around, a skilled liar, and a master at gaslighting. I've been through it too many times before, bringing up real issues only to have him turn the blame on me, deny everything, or act like I was imagining things. I refused to give him another chance to manipulate me. This time I wasn't looking for answers or closure from him. I was creating closure for myself on my own terms. So this past weekend, when he went out again with his so-called friends, just like he always does, I didn't say a word. I didn't question him, didn't start a fight. I already knew where he was really going. I was sure he was meeting the other woman, but this time, instead of letting the pain eat me up, I made my move. As soon as he left the house, I got to work. I went straight to the bedroom and began packing up all his things. Clothes, shoes, gaming equipment, personal items, everything he owned that was in my space went straight into boxes. I didn't take my time. I didn't second guess myself. I just moved quickly and with purpose. Once everything was packed, I carried the boxes outside and left them neatly in front of the house. But I wasn't done. I had already printed out the screenshots of the texts and photos between him and the other woman, the same ones I had sent to myself that night. I placed them right on top of the boxes, no words, no dramatic messages, just the truth laid bare for him to see. I wanted him to know that I knew everything and he was no longer welcome in my life or in my home. After I put his things outside and left the evidence of his betrayal right on top, I knew I had to make sure he wouldn't be able to just walk back in like nothing happened, so I called one of my close guy friends, someone who knows everything I've been dealing with over the years, and without hesitation he came over and helped me change all the locks. He didn't ask many questions, he just got to work, quietly supporting me through one of the most important steps I've ever taken. By the time nightfall came, everything was in place. The locks were changed. His belongings were outside, and my heart, while still aching, felt strangely steady. I knew he would return, probably drunk like he often is, and I was right. He came stumbling up to the door, trying to unlock it with his old key, and when it didn't work, I could hear the panic in his voice. He started banging on the door, yelling my name, demanding that I open it. He shouted and cursed, asked what was going on, trying to force his way back in like he had some right to be there. But I didn't open the door. For the first time in a long time, I felt in control. I told him through closed doors that he was no longer welcome in my home. I made it clear that we were over. I told him I was breaking up with him and that this was the end. No more second chances, no more pretending. It was done. At first, he didn't seem to get it. He kept asking me to repeat myself as if he couldn't believe what I was saying, like he thought I was bluffing or that I'd cave. But I didn't. I stood firm. I didn't owe him softness after everything he'd done. And when it finally clicked, when he realized that I was serious and that I wasn't going to open the door, his tone changed. He started yelling again, and this time louder, angrier. He shouted for me to open the door so we could talk face to face, but I knew what that meant. It meant he wanted a chance to manipulate the situation, to twist my words, to make me doubt myself like he always had. But I didn't want to give him that chance. I refused to open the door and made it clear to him that if he didn't stop causing a scene, I wouldn't hesitate to call the police and have him arrested. I meant every word. He could yell and bang on the door or plead all he wanted. I wasn't opening that door. I had given him enough of my time, my love, my patience, and my silence. He kept shouting for nearly an hour, trying everything from anger to desperation, and eventually he realized I wasn't going to budge. So finally, he left. The next morning he came back to pick up the boxes I had left outside. I watched from inside, saying nothing. He tried once more to get me to talk to him, to say something, anything, but I ignored him completely. He did see the printouts I left on top of the boxes and tried to explain himself, telling me he was basically being forced into marrying this other woman, like he had no choice in the matter. From behind the door, he kept yelling about how he wished he could have been honest with me, how he was scared of losing me. His words sounded hollow, almost laughable to me. I scoffed at his pathetic attempt to justify what he did. The truth was, he had no problem being with me and using me at the same time. The only thing he was really afraid of was losing the comforts and privileges he enjoyed in my life. My money, my care, my home. If he had truly respected me and truly loved me, he wouldn't have hidden behind lies and secret meetings. He would have faced me openly and told me the truth and let me make my own decisions, but instead he chose to betray me and live a double life. That kind of betrayal isn't love, it's selfishness at its worst. Since that day, he hasn't stopped trying to reach me. He's left multiple voicemails and sent countless texts, probably hoping I'd pick up, listen, or even give him another chance, but I have ignored every single one. I don't want to respond because I know what's best for me now. Since then, I have also blocked his number to make sure he can't contact me anymore. And this is when he started using his friends' phones to text me apologies, so I blocked those numbers too. I am done with all of it. Done with the lies, the disrespect and the pain. Done with the man who took everything I gave and threw it away. This chapter is over and I'm finally free. Now I'm going to focus on just myself. Update 3. Okay, everyone, it's been 2 weeks since I last shared my story, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who supported me through this. Your words gave me the strength to trust myself and take control of my life again. Not only did I break up with my ex this month and completely cut him off, but I also took things one step further. I decided to reach out to the other woman and tell her everything. I wasn't doing it out of spite. I did it because she deserved to know the truth, just like I wish someone had told me if I were in her shoes. Truth is, I didn't even know if this woman was aware of my existence, let alone the fact that I had been this man's girlfriend for the past 8 years. So I decided to reach out to her directly through social media. I sent her a message explaining everything, who I was, how long we had been together, how we had lived under the same roof for years, and how I discovered their relationship. I sent her the screenshots, the proof, and calm, honest message explaining the situation. I left it up to her as to what to do with that information. I wasn't trying to start drama, just bring some light into a dark situation. Turns out my ex had lied to her too, and she had no idea about me. She was shocked. My ex had been lying to her just as much as he'd been lying to me all these months. She had absolutely no clue that he was in a long-term relationship with me. She didn't know we had been living together, building our shared life. He had apparently told her that he was single and lived with his parents. His parents had also supported his lies to fool this poor girl. She told me that she was going to speak to her parents immediately and tell them the truth. She said they would be calling off the wedding, and hearing those words brought a strong mix of emotions. Relief, validation, and yes, a sense of victory. For the first time in a long while, I felt like the truth had actually made a difference. After years of being lied to, manipulated, and treated like I didn't matter, it felt good to know that he wasn't going to walk away from this without consequences. His carefully constructed web of lies was finally falling apart. He thought he could cheat, deceive, and live two lives without ever being exposed, but he was wrong. And while it didn't undo the hurt he caused, it did give me a sense of closure, knowing that I may have helped save another woman from the same pain I went through. That felt powerful. Update 4. It's been a week since my last update, and I guess the woman must have kept her word because my ex showed up at my doorstep again, drunk and begging me for another chance. He was shouting about how the other woman broke up with him and how his family was furious with him for ruining what they thought was a proper match. He started yelling about how he didn't care anyway, claiming that she was never important to him, that she was just a distraction, and then, like clockwork, he flipped into saying how I've always been his one true love, how he couldn't live without me, and how I was the only person who ever truly understood him. I didn't buy a single word out of his mouth. He stood outside my home, begging me to let him back in. He was desperate, saying anything he thought might break me down. This time he swore he would make it right. He even promised that he would finally propose to me, as if that could erase the years of deceit, the emotional damage, or the fact that he was only making these promises now because everything else had crumbled around him. But I wasn't moved. I wasn't flattered. I was done. I had warned him before, and this time I followed through. I was sick and tired of his constant harassment, his yelling, his refusal to accept that this chapter of my life was closed. So I called the police. I calmly explained the situation and let the authorities handle it, watching him get arrested, watching him yell my name, still trying to manipulate me into rescuing him, felt like a turning point. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel helpless. I felt free. A few hours after he was taken away, his parents started to call me. His mother, of course, was the loudest. She called me furious and shrieking, demanding to know how I dared to get her son arrested. She acted as though I had done something wrong, as though I should have let him yell at me on my doorstep without any consequences. As though I hadn't spent years taking care of her son, paying his bills, feeding him, and putting up with their constant coldness and disrespect. I yelled right back at her. I didn't hold back. I was done being polite. I was done trying to please people who never once saw my worth. I told her exactly what I thought of her and her so-called parenting. I told her she had raised a coward, a liar, and a user. A man who cheated, manipulated, and took advantage of someone who loved him with everything she had. I told her that she was part of the reason he turned out this way, always enabling his behavior and encouraging him to hide behind his culture and excuses instead of being a decent human being. I made it crystal clear to her I was done trying to earn her approval. I didn't need it anymore. Her son and I were over, and she had no business calling me, trying to guilt me into silence. I told her to stay away from me, to take her judgment and double standards elsewhere, and then I hung up the call. It felt good to say those things to her after all this time. Update 5. It's been 4 months since my last update, and a lot has happened since then. Unfortunately, even after everything, my ex didn't stop harassing me. Despite blocking his number and ignoring every attempt to contact me, making it clear I wanted nothing to do with him, he kept trying to reach out, showing up near my workplace, leaving messages through random numbers, and refusing to let go. It felt like he was trying to regain control, not out of love, but out of obsession and entitlement. So I took legal action. I filed for a restraining order, and it was granted. The courts heard my story, saw the proof, and agreed that enough was enough. I now have legal protection in place, and I'm no longer afraid to use it. I've also moved into a new place, far from where we lived together. a fresh start. I've installed cameras around my home so I can finally feel safe again in my own space, something I hadn't felt in a long time. And the best part is that I've been doing better mentally, really better. I feel lighter, more at peace, and more in control of my own life. I even got a dog, a sweet, goofy rescue I'd always dreamed of having but never felt stable enough to care for before. He's brought so much joy and comfort into my life, and honestly, he's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm not saying everything's perfect now, but I'm slowly healing and rebuilding. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.